What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome to the Week 5 NFL Power Rankings show here on That Franchise Guy. We are going to get right into it here, recapping an exciting week of football. Before we do, though, please do hit that like button down below if you want to take a second to support the channel. It's the easiest way to do so, and I'd really appreciate it. So thank you in advance. Let's get into it, starting at the bottom. Obviously, no movement here after the New York Jets put out probably the most sloppy job you'll ever see, especially for a primetime performance. Look, your guess is as good as mine as to why they have not fired Adam Gase yet. If the theory is it will help them go 0-16 and get Trevor Lawrence, well, I'm not sure Trevor Lawrence will want to come out of school after his junior year to play for this organization if they can't prove before then that they can fix this culture. So I don't know, man. This is just disgusting to watch, but it is kind of entertaining to laugh about, and hashtag Jamal Adams was right. Then we have the New York Giants staying at 31. Things aren't getting too much better here. I will say the defense is coming together a little bit, which is something Joe Judge was hoping to establish, some of that physical mentality in year one. So there's at least a positive there, but this offense just isn't getting any better. Daniel Jones throws the pick in an effort to go down and tie the game at the end, falls short. So the Giants, who I predicted to go 1-15 and caught a lot of flack for, have yet to win a game, and I don't know if and when they're going to. And then we're staying in the NFC East. No movement for the Washington professional football team, whose offense is just painful to watch. There's really no way around it. This defense without Chase Young isn't quite as exciting, and this team just stinks. And then we have the Denver Broncos, who have just been injured into oblivion. They won by default of playing the New York Jets, who are playing like a semi-pro football team right now. But yeah, I don't have very high expectations for the Broncos. Hopefully at some point they can get some of these guys back healthy and get a fair evaluation of Drew Lock as you head into the offseason as he comes back, hopefully for the second half of the season. All right, now that that's out of the way, we have a tier gap up. These are more competent football teams, more competitive football teams, but still teams that are not playoff contenders. In fact, I would say everyone in this next tier, I'm willing to say, is not going to be making the playoffs. So we have the Jacksonville Jaguars staying put at 28. This team's, kind of is exactly what we know them to be at this point. They can move the ball on offense. They aren't an explosive offense, but are a very consistent, capable offense. I do think Minshew can supply that on a week-to-week basis, and this defense is just young, inexperienced, and bad. So they're going to stay put at 28. They looked about as I expected this week. Same with the Miami Dolphins. They came up and put actually a pretty good fight out against the Seattle Seahawks. But it's just getting to the point where it's like, what are we really doing here with Ryan Fitzpatrick? They can score some points. They'll have some turnovers on some just iffy decision-making. It's just not an exciting football team. Let's move on. The Atlanta Falcons at 26 are going to drop down 5 spots into this tier of, in my mind, eliminated from the playoffs here in Week 5. I would not be surprised if we wake up and by the time we're watching this video, we hear that head coach Dan Quinn has been let go. I was surprised that they brought him back for this season. He's supposed to be a defensive guy. This defense is just miserable. The offense continues to not really show true improvements. Without Julio Jones out there last night, Matt Ryan looked lost. And this team is just going nowhere fast. So they're going to go down 5. I don't think we'll get too much complaints on that one. So now we have a tier gap up, and this next tier is kind of an interesting grouping of sort of rebuilding competent football teams that if a couple things, if not a few things, go correctly, they can really push for kind of that 7 seed in the wild card stuff, but probably not talking about any playoff caliber teams here. But that's going to start with the Carolina Panthers, who picked up a big win against the Arizona Cardinals. It's just a steady team. They're not unlike the Jacksonville Jaguars, and when you can move the ball like this team can, and you have a young defense that seems to be getting better week by week, you have a culture here that people have bought in, and they're going to show up and play hard every Sunday. They're certainly a team that can have some upsets like they did against the Arizona Cardinals. So I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team, but they seem to be headed for a 5 or 6 win season, which is probably exceeding most expectations for them in year 1 under Matt Rule. And I do like the future direction of this organization for sure. Speaking of organizational direction. The Houston Texans are going to come in here at 24. Those legendary first coach fired props have been settled as Bill O'Brien has been let go just 4 football weeks after trading away Deshaun Watson for a bag of peanuts and some fried candy corn. They are going to fire the coach. They are 0-4. They don't have a first or second draft pick. They do have Deshaun Watson, though, and he's going to keep you in a lot of football games, and I think that they could rally around the release of Bill O'Brien, sort of that witch is dead mentality, but not a very good football team. I don't really love Romeo Crennel taking over as head coach either. This defense is not particularly good, so him stepping up as head coach, I don't think that's going to fix a whole lot. So this is kind of a dead team for this season. It's going to be hopefully a quick turnaround for the Texans, but certainly entering a bit of a rebuild here post Bill O'Brien. Then we have the Cincinnati Bengals climbing up 2 spots. Man, is this team coming alive. If you have not watched a complete Joe Burrow game yet, do it. It is really fun, man. Joe Burrow, as I've said before, this is what I said of him as a college prospect, and he's been nothing short of that as a pro, which is crazy considering he's a rookie and he's played 4 starts, but he is Tom Brady from the waist up in terms of his arm talent and processing ability and decision-making, and Aaron Rodgers from the waist down as far as his mobility, athleticism, and ability to extend plays. He is a special player, and as we saw against the Jags, he is going to keep you in and win you some football games. Reminds me a lot of what Kyler Murray did for the Cardinals last year, stepping in for the worst team in football, and day one making them a tough out and a team that can score some points. But that defense really stinks, and I don't expect them to show up every week. They get to play, or have to play, the Ravens this week. And then we have those Arizona Cardinals, who are dropping down 7 spots, and a team that looked like in the first 2 weeks were really going to take that step up from effectively being this year's Bengals team, where they can win some tough games and get you excited about their young quarterback, but take that step up to be a more cohesive team that can play defense and have really a full, well-rounded offense. And the Cardinals just haven't had that over the last 2 weeks, and I'm really starting to get concerned. Kyler Murray does not look particularly comfortable as a passer right now, and this defense just can't get it all together again in year 2 with Cliff Kingsbury. So a team that really came out the gate and excited us, but with back-to-back losses to the Lions and Panthers, who aren't particularly good football teams, certainly teams that you would have expected the Cardinals to beat if they were going to take that next step, they're kind of back into this grouping of young, developing teams. And then you have the Detroit Lions, who are going to get clustered in here, just a team that feels like they're perennially in this tier of teams that are tough outs, can win some interesting games. If a bunch of things go right, they can make the playoffs, but probably not going anywhere this year. And that's all I'm going to say about the Detroit Lions. They put up a good fight against the Saints. They can score some points, but this defense still stinks, and I don't know if Matt Patricia is long for this team. Then we have the LA Chargers at number 20. Just going to stay put here. I was frankly, more impressed by some of the other teams. Otherwise, the Chargers would have moved up, who played well this week. I had a pretty long tweet about Herbert, kind of where I'm at for him. He has impressed me with his play extension. He's impressed me with his composure. So you're certainly encouraged by what you're seeing from Justin Herbert right now. This team has some holes, though. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. So they're going to hang around here at 20 at the top of this tier of really tough outs. Then we're going to climb into our 4th tier here that are going to be teams that are much more potent playoff contenders, but are teams that have a variety of reasons for why they have a ways to go before we pencil them in for the playoffs. And that's going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles, who picked up their first win of the season as 9-point underdogs against the San Francisco 49ers. A huge win for the Eagles, going to be a big confidence boost for this team. At the end of the day, they do still need to get healthy. I think this receiving core will get more healthy as the season goes on, which will help open this offense up. It was really good to see the pass rush get into work this week, and most importantly, Carson Wentz playing with some more of that confidence and ability to make some of those big-time plays to help their team win with their backs against the wall. So it's still not a great football team, but that was a huge win. They are now in first place in the NFC East, and a team that I fully expect to be in that race to get to the 7-win crown that is probably going to be the NFC East. Then we have the Minnesota Vikings, also going to go up 5 spots this week. We talked about it a little bit last week, but I wanted to see it result in a win, and that's what we saw this week. Getting Justin Jefferson, I knew it would be a spark for this team, but I don't think anyone saw it being this big of a spark. He has been just incredible. Inside this scheme, he is everything that they needed to replace Stephon Diggs. I'm not going to say he's a better receiver than Diggs quite yet, but for what they're looking for as far as a guy that can open up the offense, get vertical, create big plays, especially after the catch, they found it in Justin Jefferson, doing everything at a high level. And then they can hopefully get Danielle Hunter back soon and get this defense to at least be a little more serviceable. So the Vikings are not dead yet. They're going to really need to turn it on if they are going to be a wild card team, but I am certainly not ready to rule them out based on how good this offense has looked and the potential for this defense to improve in the weeks to come. And then the Chicago Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were this week. Bears fans were very quietly very angry that I had them in this 17-20 range all season. You know, they had a couple of dramatic comeback wins. The defense is playing well. And I've basically just said, you know, they're a solid football team, but when your offense is this bad, you can't really count on them on a week-to-week basis. And that's exactly what we saw against the Colts. Whether it's Nick Foles or Mitch Trubisky, it frankly doesn't matter all that much. Neither are particularly good quarterbacks. The Bears needed to see Nick Foles come out and score more than 11 points this week to have true optimism for this season. They're a fine football team. Their defense is going to keep them in every week, and frankly, when you get good Nick Foles that week, the Bears are going to be a tough team to beat. But you just don't know on a week-to-week basis what Nick Foles you're going to get. And then we have the Las Vegas Raiders, who are the opposite of the Bears. They are all offense, no defense, and are very predictable. The Raiders are going to score about 25 points every week. They're not going to have a ton of huge plays. Carr's going to take care of the football. He's going to take what's given. These playmakers are going to create after the catch, and the defense is going to get rocked. So you just hope that they can keep the other team under 25 points and they can win. I mean, they're probably the most average team in the NFL right now. Granted, on one side of the ball, they're really good, and on one side of the ball, they're really miserable. But Raiders are going to stay put here at 16 after losing a tough fight to a really good football team in the Bills this week. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to drop down 3 this week, and this is going to be surprising for people because I tweeted after the Eagles game, it's October 5th, and I'd still rather have Carson Wentz as my quarterback than Dak Prescott. Well, I'd still much rather be the Cowboys with the best receiving core in the NFL and a lot of talent to work with here. It's a team that has just played in a ton of blowout games. I don't think that is going to be the course for the rest of the season. They need to tackle better. They need to take better care of the football and offense as well. That's not helping the defense, giving them short fields. Have less 3-and-outs. Be better on third down. It's not just the defense's fault here. It's a big criticism I have of Dak Prescott is he underwhelms on third down. But as a team, I do still think the Cowboys are a better football team than the Eagles. I think Vegas would agree with that. I do think it's close. That's why they're in the same tier. So we'll see how that division continues to play out, but the Cowboys are going to continue to fall here. I mean, they still have a remarkable offense, but maybe they are just the Atlanta Falcons of last year who started, 0-8 and scored a bunch of points, and most of it was garbage time, as we've seen this year, and their defense was the worst in the NFL. Maybe that is the future of the Cowboys here, but I do think the defense has too much talent, especially in that front four, to truly be this bad on defense, and those linebackers are no joke either. And then at the top of this tier, we have the Cleveland Browns climbing up 5 spots. The Nick Chubb injury is actually rather unfortunate as far as running back injuries are concerned. This running game was really setting up to rival last year's Baltimore Ravens, and most of that credit goes to Stefanski bringing in this outside zone run-oriented scheme, but also the offensive line here is emerging as quietly the best in the entire league, especially all 5 starters being phenomenal football players. So the Browns really kicking some ass at the line of scrimmage. Defense is still a question mark for this team, but Baker's taking better care of the football. They're getting Odell Beckham going now, which is a difference maker for this offense as well. So the Browns are starting to finally meet their potential. And if they can get a couple things straightened out here, I certainly think that they will be at least a wild card team. They're in a really tough division, but good for the Browns. Good for Coach Stefanski. Seems to be a great find for a Browns team that has been really searching for a quality coach for a long time now, and it seems that they may have found it in Kevin Stefanski, who I do genuinely like. So then we're going to have a tier gap up, and these are teams that I more expect to be playoff teams, given some crazy, unforeseen circumstances. So that's going to start with the Tennessee Titans, who did not play this week, but they're still a really solid football team. I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Titans. They gotta wrap up this COVID business, though, because from what I've seen from these investigations, they might potentially have to forfeit this week against the Bills. I know they had a bunch of negative tests this morning, but then I heard Kari Blasingame had a positive test, so we'll see the news when we wake up on if they're going to be playing this week or if they're at least going to be practicing on Wednesday. But let's move on. Staying in the AFC South with the Indianapolis Colts. A big criticism I had of this team early on in the season, because we know that they're going to be able to score some points with Philip Rivers, and I do trust this defense quite a bit, which this defense is playing a lot better in the last few weeks as well, which is huge. But Philip Rivers, back-to-back weeks, no turnovers. I think they've found a really good formula. The front 7 is dominant here for the Colts. The secondary is playing pretty well. Xavier Rhodes is playing better. The safeties are stepping up despite the Malik Hooker injury. But they're running the ball. They're taking care of the football. They have Mo Alley Cox emerging as a star tight end who blocks his ass off as well as contributes in the receiving game. So the Colts are starting to climb up as they get more and more of an identity. And Philip Rivers getting more and more comfortable playing for this team. So I like what I'm seeing from the Colts. They're going to climb up, and they're going to be the number 1 team in the AFC South as we walk out of this week's power rankings. Then we have the New England Patriots staying put at number 11. You know, tough news to wake up with news, the first starting quarterback to miss a game for COVID this year. Just unfortunate. I'm just going to leave it at that. This defense put up an absolute fight. Brian Hoyer clearly not a quarterback equipped to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So, just kind of chalk this up as a loss. It was probably a week they were going to lose anyway, but you got to be encouraged to see that defense hold on as long as they did against that Chiefs offense. And as I've been saying, this Patriots defense that got demolished in week 2, this is what Belichick does. The defense slowly gets better as the year goes on. The secondary is absolutely elite. And the pass rush has been better this year too. So, don't rule out the Patriots this week. It was an unfortunate week and COVID situation for them, but they will be back. I firmly believe in that. And then we have the LA Rams. They're going to drop down 2 spots. They beat the Giants this week, but the offense really got stagnant this week. I do wonder if teams are starting to catch up to this new game plan for Sean McVay. They while they've been explosive, they've been rather one-dimensional. It's been a ton of play action, and that is what this offense lives and dies by. But this offense, more or less, was winning with the same play calls that they were for the first 3 weeks of the season. So the Giants seem to catch up to some of that stuff and slow down this offense. So I want to see a counterpunch there, but I do still really like the Rams. We got them ahead of a bunch of good teams here. Then we have the New Orleans Saints. We're going to climb up. This is really about Drew Brees proving myself and pretty much everyone wrong. Started to push the ball downfield a lot more this week, especially on crossing routes, 20, 25 yards downfield, and a really resilient win to bounce back when they fell down 14-0. So the Saints are not dead. I will say, though, the biggest difference between these Saints and the Saints that existed in our preseason expectations is this defense is not particularly good, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The secondary has been a concern for the majority of this season, so I don't know. I don't know if the Saints are a true Super Bowl team. They're going to have to pass the ball around the field like this every single week, and I don't know if Drew Brees is fully capable of that, but I'm willing to give him a chance to prove that over the course of the season. Then we have the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're going to climb up a spot. Again, a resilient win. Tom Brady, I'm not going to lie, man, he was crazy impressive in that comeback victory against a really good Chargers defense. Started to play with that composure, that accuracy downfield that we like to see. And by the third, fourth quarter, I think we finally started to see the beginnings of what the Bruce Arians Tom Brady offense is supposed to look like. And that was with a Mike Evans limping all over the field, dealing with some lower body injuries, and no Chris Godwin on the field. So I think the Bucs are certainly a team that is trending upwards, and frankly not a bad bet as a Super Bowl bet right now as we enter next week. And then we have the San Francisco 49ers, who are trending down, I would say is safe to say, other than the fact that they do get their quarterback back, I would think, this week. I know he was close to playing this week. I feel like they didn't play him because Mullins was good last week. They felt like they could win this game without him. It became very clear very quickly that that is not true. Nick Mullins is not a starting caliber quarterback. They got to get Jimmy back out there, and that will help. This defense just doesn't have the same ceiling that they did last year without Bosa. So that does, I think, hurt their Super Bowl chances. But I do like this offense quite a bit. Getting Jimmy back with Kittle looking as good as he looks. Brandon Ayuk looks incredible. Debo, limited snaps in his first game back. They are going to get Raheem Mostert back. So this offense is going to start lighting up the scoreboards. Don't count out the Niners yet. I've seen a lot of comments of people saying I'm too high on them. Once they get Jimmy back, this is still one of the best offenses in the league, and I would not be the least bit surprised if in a couple weeks we're sitting here saying, reminding ourselves of how great Kyle Shanahan is and saying this is one of the best offenses in the league, which obviously is going to make you a Super Bowl contender. And it's not like this is a bad defense. They still got a ton of playmakers and a lot of injuries in the secondary right now, too. Then we have the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen continues to play great. Really not a bad word to say about him. He is playing like a top 10 quarterback right now. It's getting more and more in the direction of me saying he is a top 10 quarterback moving forward. You can't sleep on this offense. They play tough on the defensive side of the ball. It's a really, really solid football team. I still don't know if I'm quite ready to put them in the upper echelon as far as the top 5 teams, a true Super Bowl team. I still have some hesitations. Call it what you want. Call me a Bills hater. I don't really care. I'm just not really comfortable putting them in this next tier, but I do know that this is a damn good football team this year. And that's where we're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who to me are just a little bit more of a more well-rounded team. The offense is extremely explosive. They have all of the playmakers you could ever dream of. They have the offensive line. They have the veteran quarterback who, by my eyes, is playing very well. And then defensively, they probably have the best defense in the NFL, outside of maybe New England. But we didn't get to see this team play last week. The game got postponed. But do not sleep on the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens, who are actually going to drop down a spot here. I've just been more impressed by another team. Honestly, I'm going to get back to the Lamar not looking comfortable as a pocket passer. He made some, a couple of really nice throws in this game. On the move to Mark Andrews in the back of the end zone was beautiful, but all in all, I just don't love this passing offense right now. The offensive line is not very good. They clearly miss Marshall Yanda, and honestly, Lamar Jackson just does not look particularly comfortable playing in a league that frankly has caught up to the read option stuff here. So the offense not quite what it was last year, and the defense is just really solid. The only reason I need to talk down on this team is because of the expectations. They're still the second best team in the AFC, and I think they'll win the AFC North. That's loaded with good football teams, and I bet on them to cover the spread last week for a reason. They're still a damn good football team. I've just been, simply put, more impressed by the 3 teams ahead of them to this point in time. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks at number 3. Frankly, this is just about me being more impressed by the other 2 teams. The only reason they're dropping. Got to applaud the resiliency of Russell Wilson to keep it up and do enough to continue his passing explosiveness. But I will say they weren't particularly impressive against a pretty poor Miami Dolphins team. And I would say that I have some worries about this defense. I have some worries about the line play when you're comparing them to the other two top teams in the league. But for the most part, the Seahawks continue to roll. They were my preseason NFC championship pick, and I'm not even going to say I'm backing off of that, but it's pretty hard to say that they've been more impressive than the number 2 team here, the Green Bay Packers. 30-plus points every single week. They just marched up and down the field without Davante Adams, without Allen Lazard. It doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers, he might not be putting up the numbers that the Seahawks are putting up. Part of that to me is just he doesn't have the playmakers. But the way I put it is he is just seeing the field better than I think any quarterback in the league right now. He's so comfortable executing this offense. You got to credit Matt LaFleur, who's had just phenomenal play calling, throwing his name into the ranks of the top play callers in the league, in my opinion. And I just think the Packers have a better defense than the Seahawks, with a better pass rush and a top corner in Jair Alexander, who's playing out of his mind this season. Shut down Calvin Ridley this week. I just think the Packers have been overly impressive, and they're only getting better. Robert Tonyan broke out this week. They have found a tight end, and that's with Jay Sternberger also just kind of hanging around. Obviously, they're going to get Davante Adams back. I think Allen Lazard will be coming back. And even defensively, no Kenny Clark, no Rashawn Gary against the Falcons. The defense still stopped one of the best offenses in the league for the majority of the day. So the Packers have been extremely impressive and are going to climb up to the number 2 spot, taking the top spot in the NFC through week 4. And then the Kansas City Chiefs at the top. A bit of a gift with Cam Newton coming down with COVID this week. If that Patriots defense was playing as well as they did, I don't know if they win that game. And the offense has had some hiccup games, believe it or not, but they persevere. What's really special about the Chiefs is they are, 4 out of 5 weeks going to put up these crazy explosive offensive games. But worst case scenario for them is they have a defense that will keep them in the game and just give Patrick Mahomes enough opportunities to come back and win the game. We saw it this week against the Patriots. We saw it week 2 against the Chargers. So, I just think the Chiefs are a step above the rest of the league right now. And I picked them to win the Super Bowl preseason, and as of Week 5, I'm going to be standing by that. So there are the Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below where you agree, where you disagree. Again, please do hit that like button. Cheers as always, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace out.